Hello and welcome to Jasco Goods. I made a video about 5, maybe 6 months ago showing how I made 15K selling small little woodworking projects on Etsy. And since then I've gotten a ton of questions from people that want more details on how they can do it for themselves. So in today's video, I'm gonna try to answer all those questions for you guys so you can make money selling your woodworking projects on Etsy like I did. When I was selling on Etsy, I did a lot of research. So I'm gonna show you guys some tips that I found that personally helped me get more sales. Plus, I'm gonna give you guys a bonus tip and a hack on how to find the best woodworking projects that sell, how to look for them, how to do your research on that. I'm gonna give you a good hack for that. I'm gonna show you the best way that I found to set up your listing. Plus, I'm gonna show you how to ship your listings for less than you would pay at the post office so you could keep more of that profit for yourselves. And that's not it. We're gonna talk about how long until you start making money. We're gonna talk about taxes, and we're gonna talk about advertising. If you should do it, where you should do it, we're gonna talk about all that. And if any of this interests you, then grab a snack and let's get into the video. There's a couple things we need to talk about before we start this video. One, I'm not no expert. I can't even say that word. I'm not no expert. That means I am an expert. Maybe I'm tricking you. Okay, I'm not an expert at anything. I'm not an expert at making money on Etsy. I can only share with you the experience that I had doing it, and you can do what you want with it from there. Second, this is not a get-rich-quick scheme.
Smart get-rich-quick schemes.
I don't want anybody thinking I'm giving you this get-rich-quick scheme for how to get rich on Etsy. I did not get rich on Etsy. I did make money on Etsy. I did not get rich on Etsy. I don't think most people get rich on Etsy. Are there some people that got rich on Etsy? How many times am I gonna say rich on Etsy? Yeah, there's some people that have gotten rich on Etsy. If you Google it or YouTube it, you'll see that just like YouTube, there's people that got rich on YouTube. There's videos out there and articles from magazines, not like stupid magazines, but like real magazines, about people that got rich from selling stuff on Etsy. So it happens. There's also a lot that didn't get rich, but they made 50 to 100K on Etsy. Now, yeah, are these outliers that made millions of dollars? Yes, they're outliers. You're probably not gonna make $1 million on Etsy. But, I mean, you could be one of those people that make $1 million on Etsy. I don't know your life. And if not $1 million, I don't know, maybe you make 50,000 on Etsy. Just like anything you do, you get out of it what you put into it. If you treat Etsy like a side gig, you'll probably make side gig money. But if you invest time in learning and improving yourself, improving your product, figuring this whole thing out, who knows, you could make good money off of it. The whole reason I started on Etsy wasn't to get rich. It was to buy tools so I could keep doing the hobby I loved, which is building stuff out of wood. But once I got started, I was like, how cool would it be if I could do this for a living, make money, make a career, and not have to work for anybody ever again? You know? Not have to worry about getting fired for soiling yourself in the middle of an important meeting, causing them to have to cancel the meeting and have one of the chairs professionally steam cleaned. But don't have a meeting after lunch when I just ate off the roach coach if you have a no crapping yourself rule. Not that this happened to me, I'm just speaking hypotheticals. One of the biggest questions I got on my video, or I guess you would call it a statement, is who buys, and this is the clean version, who buys this stuff?
Come on, who buys this crap?
While some of the people asking this question were just being judgmental, I'm sure a lot of those people, I honestly thought, who would spend their money on something that they can make themselves? Because I thought the same way. My wife and my family and friends, they were always telling me, why don't you sell the stuff you're making? You could sell it online. And I'm like, who's gonna buy this little stuff when they could just make it themselves? Until one year during Christmas, I think it was about 2019, my wife brings home a piece of wood, scrap wood, with her name burned into it, that someone bought her and spent $20 on because she looked it up. They gave her a card and she looked it up. Somebody spent $20 on this thing. And I was like, man, I could be putting people's names on scrap wood or find some little thing to sell on there for 20 bucks. So I started doing the research and I found a lot of people love handmade items and they're willing to pay for it because they really can't make it themselves. But on top of that, one thing I've realized is there's a culture to buying from these little stores on Etsy because it's a small business and they'd rather give their money to a small business than to some big corporation selling little trinkets. So when you come in the comments and you're like, who buys this stuff? Like you're judging them. And I'm not saying everybody does that, but there's a small portion that do that. Some of it's coming from a good place. So maybe not knock these people that are trying to support small businesses. And then rather asking yourself, who buys this stuff? Ask yourself, what could I be making that I could sell to these people?
What do you mean by these people?
So in the video I've been talking about that generated all the questions, I already showed you guys how to look up products. So I won't spend a lot of time doing that. I'm just gonna show you guys a few tricks and then like a hack, a really good hack that'll help you find good products to sell. And if you didn't see that last video, I'll put a link in the description and probably a link at the end of this video too. Just briefly on picking items, I want to say that I didn't make a lot of sales when I first started on Etsy. It was months before I made any sales. One thing is because I was just finding stuff that I thought was cool and listing them with vague titles. Here's something I made for Valentine's Day. What could I list this as other than Valentine's decor that someone would be searching for? What even is it? So now I was competing with other Valentine's Day decor items from stores that had much more experience, much more ratings than I did, already a customer base, and here I am by myself selling this. After making a bunch of stuff like that didn't sell and was just sitting at my house, I started to do some reading. All right, I'm lying. I don't read, but I started to watch some YouTube videos on how to make sales on Etsy. I started researching what people were looking for, what kind of items were selling, rather than just winging it. One important thing you have to consider is how much money do you need to make in a year to make this whole Etsy thing worth it for you? Say you decide you need to make $52,000 a year to make the whole Etsy thing worth it to you. And I'm only choosing 52 because it's easier to divide between 52 weeks. So you take that 52,000 divided by 52 weeks, you get $1,000 a week. Now you take that $1,000 a week. Hold on, let me take off my shoes.
Counted on their fingers and toes.
So then you divide 1,000 by 7 and you get 142 and a bunch of other numbers at the end. So I'm just gonna say 143. Now say you're selling something like a set of these mountains and your profits after shipping and Etsy fees is about $10 a pair. So if you needed to make that $143 a day to make your $52,000 a year, I hope I'm not losing you on this. You take that $10 that you make in profit and you figure how many of these do I got to sell a day to make 143, and that's 14.3. So now you have to sell 14.3 sets of these per day to make your profit of $52,000 a year. So I'm just using these as an example, but whatever you make, can you make 14.3 pairs of them a day at a $10 profit? So that's what you have to think about. What is your profit going to be? You know, and it may change. You may put them up and it's listed for too much, or they may fly off the shelf and you can raise it. You don't know until you do it in a lot of cases. But a good way to tell is what I'm going to show you later. When you're looking at bestsellers, you look at the prices they're selling these things for, the ones that are flying off the shelf, the ones that are in a lot of carts, the ones that are bestsellers, basically. So we came up with that number 14.3 sets per day based on 7 days a week. If you don't want to work 7 days a week, then you have to figure out what it is in 5 days a week. And also make sure you make time to package and then ship the items too. I made a trip to the post office every day. We'll talk more about shipping after I show you some tricks on the Etsy app. Let's go look at the Etsy app. Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking for gifts for my sister for Christmas. Okay, so this is the Etsy website. You just come on here and then you type in the search bar, wood, and you see what comes up. This is the top searched things with wood in the title. Wood decor handmade, wood decor bestseller, wood decor lighting, wood decor home decor, wood decor kitchen and dining. So you could pick one of those to start. Let's see, wood decor handmade, and we'll see what comes up. So I've seen videos where they've done these things, right? These little things that pop out, you hang your jacket on there. I've seen these picture frames before. These are all popular right now. Here's something really, really basic. Here's some basic stuff right here. Shashugi, whatever you say that, band wooden candle holders. So that way if you burn them up, they're already burnt. Now, none of this stuff is bestsellers. This is just to give you some of this stuff is bestsellers. I shouldn't say none of it. Some of this stuff's bestsellers, but not all of it. These little sconces, remember I showed you guys how to make a sconce in another video? These ones right here, bestsellers. So, but not all of it is bestsellers. But this is just a way for you to come through. Look, here's another bestseller. Get some ideas. Handmade wooden herb stripper. I don't know what that is. You see this thing right here? This right here where my mouse is. I don't know if you can see that. That item right there, some guy that's on YouTube, he started making those with a CNC machine and he became a millionaire according to his story. I mean, you can go on, if I can find him, I'll link him in the description. But yeah, he started, and not this particular page. I don't know if this is his particular page, but he started making these same side table organizers for dads, and he said he became a millionaire off of it. So, but here's a cross bestseller. Look at all the different crosses. That looks like they just mixed it in with some different resins. That would be really fun to do. I'd like to try that as a project. But this is just some basic ideas. Etsy pick popular. Bestsellers are ones that are selling really good right now, and you want to look at those. Here's another kind of sconce. It doesn't have lights in it, but imagine, I mean, you could do something like that. There's a million different things you could do with that. You could put some lights on the plants. You could put some lights in the jars. That's a bestseller. I don't know what this mushroom looking thing is. I already got mushrooms growing on my wall. I didn't know it was a bestseller. Here's some birds over here. Look, here's some stuff down here. Look at these little triangle things, like little mountain shelves. Here's I mean, they probably use a CNC machine to do that. CNC machines, if you got a CNC machine or a laser engraver, that's a good way to batch produce stuff and get some good sales. So then you just pick one you're interested in. We'll pick this one because it's a bestseller. And you click on it. It's in 20 plus carts right now. This particular seller has already had 5,000 reviews on their page. If you look down here at the bottom, all these categories right here, these would be keywords that you would use in your search and that you would use in your listings. And I'll show you more about that later when we do a listing. But these are keywords, but they are also things in the category of what you're looking at. So you could farmhouse candle holder. There's that light I made in another video. So we'll go to this one right here, farmhouse wood sconce, and we will type in farmhouse wall sconce. It already came up on there. You might have to put in wooden. Let's put in wooden. Okay, so see, I'm in wooden farmhouse wall sconces, but it's showing a couple bestsellers, but not all of these are bestsellers. So I'm going to show you how to get bestsellers, and you want to use bestsellers not only to, like I said, not only to look up, hey, this is the stuff that's selling the best. I want to emulate that, but also how did they do their listing? What keywords do they use? What they use in their title? That also has a lot to do with bestsellers also. It's not just the product that they made. But if you want to see more bestsellers, here's a trick to do that. Now, Etsy used to have a way to see bestsellers. You used to come over here to the filters and you would click on bestsellers. They took it out. So now they have this category called star sellers. Star sellers are just people that do good customer service. They don't necessarily are selling the best stuff. Their products and their listings aren't necessarily the best, but they're getting sales and they're doing good. So they made it a star seller thing. So you click star seller, right? You see up in the top here, it's showing me now. I filtered the search results by star sellers. Now all you do to get into the old Etsy bestseller hack is type in best. Take out star and replace it with best seller. Hit enter. Let me bring it back up so you can see. Now as you go through, it's only showing me best sellers. Now when you go to best sellers, it kind of like brings the category down a little bit. You're not going to get as fine-tuned because a lot of people, like it doesn't have that many. So to fill the pages, it's going to put in regular wall sconces and stuff like that. But that's okay. So now you look through, this is a bestseller. I saw those on the other page, but they weren't bestsellers. So what is making this one a bestseller over the other one? More than likely, I mean, because it's $87 for these things. More than likely, it's the listing. It's the keywords they used. It's the title they used. So that we'll go over that later. I'll show you how to do good keywords and titles. But here's some bestsellers in woodworking. Here's some simple shelves. So these are the best sellers in woodworking in your category. Let me show you another way to find items that are hot and they're selling well that you can build for Etsy. Pinterest is another great tool for Etsy woodworkers because people don't go to Instagram to find handmade items. They go there to look at their favorite Instagram models. I mean, other woodworking sites. They go there to, talk to their friends, share pictures, stuff like that. Pinterest is another place for handmade items, home decor. It's another it's another artsy type place. So you can go on to Pinterest, and I recommend if you're going to sell, I still get, and I don't even really mess with my Pinterest that much. I don't think I posted anything in Pinterest in over a year. But I still get more traffic on my YouTube and on my Etsy from Pinterest than I do from Facebook or Instagram. So Pinterest is a good tool. You should have one. And you can go on Pinterest and you can do the same thing. Wood and see what comes up. Wood decor, wood projects. These are different search terms that are trending on Pinterest. You can come over here to the side. Wood slice ornament. What is that? You see that how many interests? And this is a good predictor of what people are looking for. And they're probably not only looking for it on Pinterest, but they're probably looking at it on Etsy too. And then you can come down here and it gives you all kinds of stuff by age and everything. And then it'll give you some pictures at the bottom of what they're looking for. You see that? It's wood slices. I think they actually sell these at the dollar store. And if you have a laser engraver, you can burn your own decorations into them. You can paint them. If you have the laser engraver like the X tool, like I have and I've showed in other videos, you can use that. You can personalize these and get them from the dollar store, sell them for 3-4 times what you bought them for. So this is from a website called cedcommerce.com. And this is Etsy top 10 product categories with top Etsy sellers. So if you go to number 1, it says craft supplies. Top sellers with their total sales. Those are the top sellers right there. Plainer Kate, she sold, I would imagine, 1 million. I would imagine this is pieces and not dollars. It doesn't specify, but I would think there would be a dollar sign. She sold 1,830 items. So let's take this category, crafts and supplies. That doesn't sound like it has anything to do with woodworking. Well, it does, because you can sell blank wood items. Like I sold those blank wood Christmas trees. You can sell blank wooden items that people can use as crafts or craft supplies. Sometimes teachers go on here. They want to have maybe some Christmas trees to paint with their class. They don't have the capability to cut up all the wood. You're selling them for a couple bucks a piece. Pieces of wood, wooden Christmas trees. You don't have to worry about staining them. You maybe sand them if you want. There's a good idea for you. So craft supplies does fall under woodworking category. But let's see number 2. So this is handmade items, wooden boxes, wooden shelves, jewelry. You can make wooden jewelry, accessories. I don't know what that is. Clothing. I don't think you can make anything out of wood. Be kind of like maybe a robot. I don't know. Home and living, wall decor, candles, and furniture to make your home yours. So that's number 9 on the list. Wall decor, candles, furniture. It's you. That's your category right there. So woodworking is basically in the top 10 several times. Another question I get is about how to ship the items you make.
Ship my pants? You're kidding. You can ship your pants right here.
When I first started looking for stuff to sell on Etsy, I started looking for stuff that was small and easy to ship. Obviously, the bigger the item is you are shipping, the more expensive it's going to be. Once you determine what you're going to sell, next you need to find a box that you can ship it in. Just simply use a ruler or a tape measure and figure out the dimensions of your item, and then figure out what size box you need. I bought my boxes in bulk from Amazon Prime. Just look at the box size you need and pick the best priced. Just make sure you look at the reviews, because I bought boxes that were thinner than normal cardboard boxes, so I could only ship light stuff in them. But there was actually an advantage to it too, because when I did ship small light stuff, they were as light as a bubble mailer, but it was a cardboard box, so it kind of worked out. Another tip is sometimes if you just go up an inch in one of the dimensions of your box, it'll end up being cheaper because they have standardized box sizes, and if you buy a standardized box size, it's cheaper than some odd size, which is, I don't know anything about sizes of boxes. I'm not an expert at that, but there was some boxes that were called standard and they were cheaper. But you got to be careful of that because a bigger box is going to weigh more. So sometimes shipping will put you over that 1 ounce using a bigger box, and then your price of shipping goes up. So there's that to consider too. You don't want to save $1 on boxes just to end up spending it in shipping costs. So there's a lot of stuff to consider. It sounds very confusing, but once you get used to it, it's like second nature. And then another option is bubble mailers. That's what I used to ship the mountains in. After you figure out your box sizes, another thing you're probably going to need is packaging material. Either these airbags or rolls of bubble wrap, or you can buy tissue paper. I used to get it in bulk from Costco at Christmas time, and it would last me the whole year, and I would wrap the mountains in that. Now you can buy boxes and all the packaging material from Walmart or Amazon, or if you have a membership to a warehouse club, you can also get the items there too. And sometimes they're cheaper there. You just gotta look around and what's available in your area. I'll leave a link to some of the boxes and packaging material that I used in the description of this video. There are also companies that specialize in shipping boxes and material. The closest specialty place I could find around me had a much better selection of boxes. They were much better prices, much better selection of everything. The problem is they were in California, so I had to have them ship it to my house. They only offered overnight shipping, and that was as much as the boxes that I was buying. So it was cheaper for me to get them on Amazon. But you may be able to go, there may be one close to your area that you could just go pick them up yourself. And then lastly, another good place to get boxes for free is the post office.
You hear that? I can ship my pants for free.
Wow, I just may ship my pants.
Yeah, you can walk into your post office and they have boxes in there for free, or you can go online and fill out a form and they send you some boxes in the mail. I filled out the form twice online and I never got any boxes. And I was really surprised because we all know how efficient the government is.
Was that sarcasm?
So if you do get them from the post office, you got to be careful because when you go into the post office, they have specialized boxes depending on what shipping service you're going to get, like priority mail, overnight shipping, express. They have a bunch of different services. So they offer free boxes if you're getting that service. So if you're just trying to ship your stuff standard, you don't want to get a priority box because you're gonna have to pay priority prices. So you have to look on the box. It'll say for general shipping, and those are the ones that you can put stuff in and do just regular standard shipping rates. One thing I did when I was packing up my orders is I would add a thank you note into the box, and I would add a discount code to the thank you note. For some reason, it made people feel sorry for me and they would buy more boxes. I felt like it was a nice touch too because it helped me get 5-star reviews and return customers. And another huge tip is this: if you purchase your shipping labels through Etsy and print them yourself, you can save 30% under what up to 30% under what the post office charges. So I always printed my own labels and put them on the packages myself. And then another thing it saves you is I didn't have to stand in line at the post office. That was a big one. The 30%, and you don't have to stand in line at the post office. You could just bring it there and drop it off. Now there's also a way you can get them to come to your house and pick them up, but I always heard it was unreliable, so I just brought them myself. I printed all of the labels, I put them on the boxes, brought them to the post office, and stuck them into the mail slot myself. Now you can use a regular piece of paper, which some people do, and then they would cut out the label and tape it to the box, or they make labels that fit into a regular printer that are like either half labels or there's like divided into 4 pieces, and then you stick that to the box. What I eventually did, because it was easier and faster and I was going through a lot of ink, was I got a thermal printer and it printed little tiny labels. I'll put a link to it in the description if you guys want to pick one up, but that's what I use. All you need to print your own labels is to measure the boxes, and then you need a little scale like this. I think these are like $10 to $20 on Amazon. And once you figure out the size and the weight of your package, all you gotta do is put that information into Etsy and then print out your label. I'll show you how to do that when we do the listing section. Okay, now that you decided on the item you want to sell, you got the box for it, we're ready to ship it, let me show you how to do a listing on Etsy. If you haven't signed up for Etsy yet, there's a ton of videos on YouTube on how to do it. It's pretty straightforward. I'm not gonna go over that part. Just go in and fill out your information. One thing you do need is a tax ID if you have a business, or your social security number if you don't, because you have to have a way for them to pay you, and the government wants their taxes for it. The Etsy account is free. All you pay is 20 cents to list your item. Then if you make a sale, they get a percentage of the sale. Let me show you how to list your item first, and then after that we'll talk about like selling your items and taxes and stuff like that, and we'll go over all the fees. But let's get on the computer and figure out how to list an item. All right, guys, let me show you how to set up your listing. I'm going to show you my mountain listing that I set up, a couple years ago. This is the one I had and I was doing pretty good with. So the first thing we need to do is come up with a great title. And to come up with a great title, you need to find some great keywords. One way to do that is to use this free extension called Everbee that you could put on your browser, and then you can use that to search keywords and come up with some great ones that are trending and learn all kinds of stuff about them. So what you're going to want to do is go on Etsy, and I'm going to put in mountain decor, and you see it shows 1,485 monthly searches. So that's pretty good in my opinion. Mountain decor for shelf is only showing 35. So we'll click on mountain decor. And then here's the trick I showed you earlier. You go to filters, scroll down to star seller, change the star to best. That's that hack I showed you earlier. So now this is going to show any mountain decor that's best sellers. And that's what you'll want to do. This one right here is a best seller. You want to look at there. If you are doing mountains, you do this for whatever product you're selling. I'm using my mountains as an example, so that's why I did the mountains, because we used mountains in the last video, so I'm just going to go with that again. So here's a bestseller. You can go through any of these ones that are bestsellers, and you can look through the keywords to a certain extent. Now, the one that's the most similar to what you're making, they're going to probably have a very similar title to what you need, especially if they're a bestseller. You can see that they've gotten 132,000 views. If you look through, that's pretty good. That's a lot of views that they've gotten. You want to go onto their page and then just look at what they use as keywords. Look at what they use in their title. Mountain shelf decor. And then if you do download this Everbee, you can click on this, analyze the listing. And it's going to show you some of the same stuff, how many views that they've gotten. But you can look through here. These are some keywords. You want to use these keywords in your title. Also, another way you can find keywords, like I said, if you don't want to do the app, because you're going to have another section in your listing later that calls for more keywords, is if you scroll down here, explore related searches, these are all good keywords that you can use. Well, not all, but some of these are good keywords. The Everbee is going to help you because it's going to show you which ones of these are the better ones, but You can go through and you can maybe look at a couple different bestsellers and you can say, okay, these guys are all using these same 4 or 5 keywords. I'm going to stick to something like that. But that's how you do it. I could do a whole video on how to find SEO keywords, how to find the best titles. I'm just giving you the basics, the basic rundown. There are a ton of videos on Etsy already, and that's why I didn't really make a video on it. I'm trying to do this for woodworkers because you guys are all on my channels. You guys are asking me the questions, so I'm trying to do this. But if you want to do more investigating into keywords, because I'm more of a building stuff channel, there are a lot of channels that help you, a lot of really good information out there. I'll try to link a few down in the description. So the next thing, your keywords and your title is what's going to bring people to your listing. So when somebody goes on to Etsy, like I just did, and they type in shelf decor, mountain decor, something up in the top, your title's going to get you on this listing. But then after that is the photo that's going to get you the sale, because that's what's going to cause people to click on your photo. So Etsy gives you all kind of different numbers that you can go over. If your listing is getting a lot of views but not a lot of clicks, that means your title is good. It's getting you onto that search page. If you're not getting enough clicks, then that's the next category, photos. Your photos aren't good. People are seeing you in that listing, that's your view, but they're not clicking on you because they don't really like the photo, or people have better photos. So you want to have your photos clear. You want to have your photos show exactly what you're selling. You want to set your photos up in good lighting. You want to put them in different scenes. I did all these with just my cell phone. And then another thing that you want to do when you're taking pictures is see how I put the color in. People might not know, what does honey look like? Or you might have a color like provincial. What does provincial look like? People might not know what's the difference between weather gray and carbon gray. So if you put it on your pictures, it really helps people to make a decision and buy your product. If people are confused about your picture and your product, they're not going to buy it. This is my tree listing, which also did well. In this listing, I put the measurements under each tree, so people knew exactly what size they were getting. And then again, I did another picture that shows the carbon gray and the weather gray right next to each other. They can get an idea of what they're looking at. Another thing, when you're taking your pictures, don't have your best products in your pictures and then send out crappy products. Meaning, you see this tree, it has knots in it, it has imperfections, the stain is a little bit light in some areas on this gray. You see I have a knot in the green tree, but no knot in the white tree. So don't put your best products up here in your photos and then send out crap. One thing I would do is I would go into other competitors or people that I was trying to be like, other best sellers, and I would look at their reviews. And I would look, what do people love about their shop? What do people hate about their shop? One thing that people do, especially if they leave a 1-star review, is they would put a picture with it. So you look at the picture and you can see, what are people mad about? A lot of times what I would notice is the products that they would have on their page would be nice, great wood, great grain, sanded. You can tell if somebody sands a piece of wood and stains it, and if they don't sand a piece of wood and stain it. I can tell by these pictures they probably use an orbital sander if they sand their if they are using a sander at all. But I could tell they don't do a whole lot of sanding. They don't go through the grains. Not a knock on them. That may be what their thing. But they show it in their pictures. So if you order one, you see it looks just like the picture. And you could see in my pictures that I sand mine. You can even see the direction of the sanding because I use the belt sander. You can see that in my pictures. If I was to take these pictures and then send them these mountains where you could tell they're not sanded very well because the way the stain took, the way it's blotchy in some areas, and the way the paint is like not straight on their peaks, then I would probably get a bad review. They have that right in their picture. So when you get one of their mountains, it's in the picture. You're getting what you saw. You're getting what you paid for. So make sure you do that with your photos. Make sure they're getting what they paid for. Now I sold larger mountains and I sold smaller mountains. I did this picture and it has some small mountains with some large mountains. It's another way to upsell. I made sure to put this note: large mountains sold separately. Follow link in description. That way, if people came to my page and they're like, I wish these mountains were a little bit larger, boom, I sell larger mountains. They can go on there and they can buy some larger mountains too, or they can buy them together. I also had a link to another listing where you can mix up the mountains and you could buy small ones and large ones together. So there's another tip on the photos. Okay, our next section is our description. You want to fill out the description fully. You want to fill out with as much information as you can about your product, pertinent information. You don't want to fill it with a bunch of crap that nobody wants to read, but you want to have the size. Even mine, I can look at this right now, and I should have had these sizes separate, so they didn't have to read through all this to get the sizes out of there. This tree listing was a lot newer, and I put the size right on the photo, so they don't even have to go in the description to see the size. Try to give the people as much information as you can, because I have went on listings to buy stuff and I couldn't figure out the size. I couldn't figure out, even on Amazon, and you have to go into the description where some people put the size of it right into the title. That's what you want to do. Maybe not in your title because you want to take that up. But if it's right in the picture or very clear in your description, that's a plus for you. That's going to help you get a few more sales. There's a link in the description to my larger mountains. I put all the colors in my mountains. You want to put your return policy into your mountains. They have another place for it, but we do not offer returns because of the nature of the handmade products. You cannot return the time and the love we put into each one of our handcrafted items. I had a no return policy, but I actually did return some stuff because I'd rather return it than get a bad review. Another thing that I make sure that I put somewhere, I see some people, it's very smart. They put it on one of their photos. So the last photo is their return policy and this disclaimer. Because if you're selling wood products, you should have this disclaimer. I can't even say that right. Disclaimer somewhere in there. Please be aware that these products are made from real wood and therefore each one is unique with its own character.
Today, Junior!
And you can pause this to read the rest if you want, but it just basically tells them it's wood. It's going to look different. It's going to stain different. It may not look exactly like the picture. It's going to have knots. Some of it's not going to have knots. So you might want to add something like that if you're building wood products. The next category is your price. You want to put your price there. It's pretty self-explanatory. And then quantity. When you build stuff, usually it's called made to order, which means they order it and then you start making it. You can do it that way, especially if you, like I had a lot of colors and a lot of different things. I couldn't have one of everything. You saw how small my shop is. I couldn't have one of everything on hand. I did have some stuff, like some of my most purchased items or my most purchased colors ready to go. I did have them sanded and all ready to just go to stain. I kept it at that point. But you set up your listings as a woodworker for made to order. If you can do it and you have the ability to have it all set up and then you just ship it out, you would probably do better because you would have faster shipping times. People love fast shipping times, especially with Amazon. So if you can have all your stuff set up and ready to go, that would probably be even better. I didn't have it like that. I have a lot of room to store everything. So I gave myself more time in the processing. So made to order, you have a processing time that you set up. You tell them, here's how long it takes me to build it. The reason they put quantity on there is weird because you have to fill out the quantity, even though it's made to order of how many you have. But what I used this for was set it up for how many can you make at once? What if you got 16 orders all at once? Could you make 16 orders? Now the quantity goes down each time somebody buys something, so you have to keep raising it up. If you have enough quantity, it keeps going down. But eventually, if you don't, it takes your listing off until you raise the quantity. So that's something you have to pay attention to. Even for made to order items, they still make you do that quantity. So like I said, put it for how many you think you can make at once. There was some days where I got a lot of orders. So I always never put the quantity to like 999 because what if you get 50 orders in one day? I had people that wanted sometimes 100 mountains. That's a bulk order. That's a totally different thing. You'll get contacted by people that want a bulk price. They want to buy maybe 100 mountains. They want to buy 40 sets. You set that's up differently. That's a different topic, but I just want to let you to be aware of that. There are going to be people, if you sell something that may want a big order. I did several of them. I showed you in the last video how many bulk orders I got. So you want to make sure you set your quantity to how many you can do in one day. You don't want somebody you're already busy, it's November, and somebody drops in 100 of your item that they want. That's great for sales, but if you can't keep it up and you go behind on other sales or you go behind on that order, then you're going to get in trouble with Etsy, and you don't want to do that. You're going to get in trouble with the customers. So make sure you set your quantity. That's enough for that topic. This is pretty self-explanatory. This is the variations. On this one, I just had color variations. On my trees, I had different sizes, so I had that. This is going to create a drop-down menu on your listing to where when somebody goes to your page, they drop down. That's a little drop-down menu, and they select what color. Maybe they select what size. Maybe they select what finish it is. So that's all that is. This is where you fill out your variations. This is all your details. You want to make sure you fill out as many of your details as possible. You're either selling a physical item or a digital item. Most of the time, if you're doing woodworking, it's going to be a physical item. You want to make sure you fill out your sizes. For style, I put country and farmhouse. I have baby showers for my occasion because I also had in the description nursery decor, and I actually got a lot of sales from people that were putting them in nurseries. And the reason I know people were buying it for their nurseries because when I was getting reviews, people were showing pictures and it was in a nursery and they would say, this looks great in my baby's nursery. Another thing I got a lot of requests for, and these were some of my bulk items, was farmhouse wedding decorations. People like to use these as their centerpieces on the table, and sometimes they would put numbers on them because they would send me pictures and it would be the table number and they would have the mountain sitting there. So there's another thing that helped me out. This was just some research that I did and what led me to put this in there, and it worked for me. You don't have a primary color unless you only are doing one color of the thing you're making, and you don't have a secondary color. Holiday is only pertinent if you're making something that's for a holiday, like Christmas. I don't know if it hurts you year round. Like I make my Christmas trees, and so I usually click Christmas on those. But when it's not Christmas, I take that off. And the reason I take it off is because I change the whole look of the listing and I make it more of a year-round item, and I call it woodland trees. I have two of these pictures. One of them says Christmas trees. This one says woodland trees. So I switch it around depending on the season that we're in. So like I said, you might have to leave that one blank. Now, this is another very important thing is your tags. You want to fill out all 13 tags. And the way you get these tags is the same way you get those keywords. So now if you come down here on your listing and scroll down past all this, and you can do this on a lot of different best listings. These explore related searches. These are other keywords that you would put into that keyword thing. Wood decor. That's a very broad keyword. That might not be a good keyword. I looked it up and it said it was a low keyword. Mountain wall art. When you start doing them more like that, wall art is a good keyword. Then you throw mountain in there. It starts to become more fine-tuned. So you want to have some broader ones in there like wood decor or wood home decor or something like that, but then some fine-tuned ones too. Because if somebody comes on there looking for mountain wall art, your shelf sitters will come up. So these are some keywords that you could put into that keyword section. Materials. Materials I don't believe are that important. I always fill it out because I fill everything out. Wood stain and wood is all I really use for these. But if you're doing something like a resin coffee table or some kind of an epoxy thing, you may want to put that in the material description and it may help your search results. Anything that can help your search results and help you get seen more, I would do it. So here's another important step in your listing, your shipping.
I just shipped my drawers.
Included in shipping is your processing time. So in here, if you click on it, 1 day, 1 to 2 days, 1 to 3 days, or you could do longer and do a custom range. You can even go up to weeks if you have to. You can take as much time as you want, but remember, the more time you take, the less likely people are gonna make a sale, especially if it's something someone needs in a week. A lot of people will come on here like it's Amazon and try to get something that they need in 3 days, and it just doesn't work out. You'll get a lot of emails. Hey, can you get me this by Friday? And you're like, and maybe you can, maybe you can't. I always told people I have no control over shipping, so I cannot say that. I'm not like Amazon where I have my own shipping people. When I give it to the post office, they sometimes take longer than especially around the holiday season. They sometimes take longer, so don't ever let anybody talk you into guaranteeing a delivery date because you can't. If you use the Etsy shipping like I was talking about earlier, you can save 16.9% on UPS Priority Mail Express. That's the really expensive one. Or just regular UPS, you can save up to 46.9% you can save on these. So this is where you pick, and the buyer will select what shipping they want. If you do free shipping, you got to make sure your free shipping is only for domestic because you don't want nobody to do overnight or international and it costs you $30 to ship your $20 item. So this is where you select what different shippings you accept. Okay, so now for the really important part, the shipping part. Everybody asked me about this. What you're gonna do is weigh your item in the box. Then you're gonna put the dimensions of the box on here. That's what they want. It says item weight, but that means in the box. And then this is the size of the box it's gonna go into. There's this section down here. I had mine clicked already. Preview shipping cost. You're gonna pick United States. Pick the furthest place from you, New York City, to get what the most extreme is going to be. Like right now, mine's set to free shipping. So the total price of my item is $19.99. So no matter what the shipping cost, I'm gonna have to pay that out of the $19.99. But if I edit this and I go down and I take off free shipping, save and apply, so now it's going to cost me $4.62 to ship this to New York City. So that gives a total price of $24.61. Now you can do that and then change the price of your item to $24.61 and then put your shipping to free, because this will give you the most extreme case. And you can figure all that out just by playing with your numbers over here. So now when you ship each item out, this is just to give you an example, and so you know when you're setting this up and what to tell the buyer, because it's going to actually change depending on what the weight is. So it's going to tell the buyer this amount, and this is what it's going to charge the buyer. But when you sell, each one you sell, you have to weigh and put a label on, and it could weigh less or it could weigh more than this. So make sure, because you're selling wood products, make sure you pick a weight that's in the middle, or you could pick one that's at the highest that you can possibly do. I picked in the middle because it's only a few cents difference. So if your customer pays you at 7 ounces and then you go to weigh it for shipping and it weighs 9, you got to eat that difference. Hope that's clear. Another way you can do this, if you haven't registered for Etsy, is you can go on the post office website, and they also have the same thing. And you actually have more selections. You can get what it's going to cost priority. You can get overnight. You can change the option. So, but that's how you do the shipping. The last part on here is your settings, your policies. You can put this in a section. Say you have like different sections on the side. Now your renewal options. You can turn that on manual or you could turn it on automatic. Mine's on manual right now because I have the listing turned off. Otherwise, it would just automatic renew it. So now after you have everything filled out, you did your settings, everything, I can preview it and see what it's going to look like. This is what it's going to look like. That's that drop-down menu I was talking about. Here's my video. Here's my pictures. This is how the little thumbnail is going to look. This is how my description is going to look. Yours is going to say something different. Yours is going to say, save the listing as a draft or to make it go live. If you wanted to, before you even started selling, you can do up your listing and then you can just save it as a draft. So that way you can make it go live. Later, you don't have to make it go live once you fill it out. Say you fill it out and you're like, I don't really like these pictures. I need to take more pictures. Here's some stuff I want to change. I want to look up more keywords. You can do it later. You don't have to finish it, but it's a good idea if you wanted to. You don't even have to put in maybe but one picture. I think you need at least one picture to save a draft, and you can just come down here to the shipping part and figure out what it's going to cost to ship it. Another question I got a lot was, how long will it take to get sales? And that's just a question I can't answer. Not that I know the answer and I don't want to give it to you. That's more of a question for Miss Cleo.
Go for your free reading now.
Who remembers her? I know from experience there seems to be like a 2-week period after you put up a new listing that nothing happens. It just kind of sits there. Or you may get like a few sales on it, very little visits. I don't know what Etsy does. That's just from my own experience, and I've seen other people post that online, but it's been a few years since I've seen it. I don't know if they've changed that. If there's anybody that's currently selling on Etsy, let us know in the comments if that's still a thing. Another question I get a lot is, should I pay for advertising? And my answer is, I highly recommend it. Can you get sales without advertising? Yeah, you can. Unless your listing is just amazing. You have the best pictures, you have great keywords, you have a great title, your listing is just outstanding, and you found a product that people are searching for. Or if you have a social media platform that you get a ton of traffic on and you can direct them to your page, that's another way you can do it too. But most likely, if you're just starting off, you're going to want to try advertising. One other thing I want to mention on advertising is I tried the Instagram and Facebook advertising, and compared to Etsy, I had very little sales from it, very little traffic. People go on Facebook because they really want to hear their friends' political opinions so that they can make better decisions for their own life. Am I right? The point is, people aren't going on Facebook or Instagram or any of those other social media platforms to see handmade items. You can target the advertising, but in my experience, it didn't help as much as Pinterest was much better and advertising on Etsy, because people are on Etsy specifically looking to purchase handmade items. Not just look at them, not just look at them for ideas, what they might be doing on Instagram or Facebook. So that's from my own experience. You can dabble with it if you want. I believe it's also cheap, especially if you're making money. You can see if it's worth your while. Try it out. So now what happens when you get your first sales on Etsy? For a new seller, those funds will be available in about 14 to 20 days. But there's a good chance that a portion of your profits will be put into a reserve for 45 days. Most online sellers do this reserve thing. And the reason for it is as a new seller, they don't know if you're just somebody coming on there to scam some people. You may come on there, put up something and get a bunch of sales and then you don't send nothing out. So to keep that from happening, they don't send you the money yet. They want to make sure people get their product. And then eventually when you become more of a proven seller, they take that reserve thing away. But after you're an established seller, you should start getting paid every Monday from, I think they may hold a week back from the stuff from the previous week. You'll get paid every Monday from whatever you sold the previous week. But you can customize that payment schedule. You can choose every 2 weeks, you can choose once a month. I think you can get paid up to like every 2 days. Like if you're a tweaker and you need that money right away because you're jonesing, you can do that.
I want some crack.
So your payments will be your profits minus your Etsy fees. And I get a lot of questions about how much are the Etsy fees. So here you go. Every listing you make is 20 cents. Every sale you get, there's a transaction fee of 6.5% for the total sale amount. Shipping and everything. The total amount you get paid, they take 6.5% of that. Then there's a payment processing fee on top of that. In the US, the payment processing fee is 3% plus 25 cents. But it all depends on where you live. In other countries, it's a different fee, so you have to look it up for your region. Every online platform that you would sell on takes a fee, naturally. Time you sell something through a platform, you exchange their huge traffic for a fee. So together you got the 6.5% and then 3% and then a quarter and then the 20 cents. So it's around 10% of what you're selling goes to Etsy. But not only are you paying for the traffic, you're also paying for the established customers that Etsy already has. So if you were to do it yourself and open up your own website and sell stuff off of there, people have to learn to trust you. They have to know who you are before they're just going to want to put their credit card on your site. So you're also paying for that. But that doesn't mean your future goal shouldn't be to have your own website. And as you build clientele or a customer base, you direct them people to your website with, cards and stuff like that. Now you have to look into the rules. There's some rules on Etsy about directing their traffic to your website. And you make sure you follow the rules, because if you get caught, then your store will get shut down. So make sure you look into that. Another thing I get asked about a lot is taxes. Let me just tell you, the best piece of advice I could give you: never take tax advice from a guy that makes fart noises and builds stuff out of construction lumber on YouTube.
Whatever this moron says, do the opposite.
I don't know. I'm no tax expert, and taxes vary from place to place where you live. I just know what I have to pay in taxes because I do the QuickBooks thing, and that's it. You have to look up what you're gonna have to pay in taxes. You're gonna be in a completely different tax bracket than me. You're gonna be, depending on where you live, is gonna be different than me. That's something you're gonna have to figure out on your own. So that should be all the information you need to get you started on Etsy. I would, if I was you, go and explore more sites. There's so many more different opinions. I am not an expert, like I said in the beginning of this. I did not get rich off of Etsy. Maybe there's people that are making YouTube videos that say they did get rich off of Etsy. Look at some of their stuff too. Doesn't even have to be woodworking stuff. It could be Etsy in general, if that's where you want to sell. You may not even want to sell on Etsy. It might not be the thing for you. If you don't think you have the means or the skills to sell on Etsy or just sell your woodworking stuff in general, I get a lot of people that say that. I'm going to tell you this: do not be afraid to be mediocre. A lot of people don't start something because they're afraid of being mediocre at it. There's nothing wrong with being mediocre at stuff. Half the world is mediocre at the stuff they do at best. If woodworking is something you love to do and you want to make money off of it, I would rather be mediocre doing something I love to do than great at something I hate doing.
She doesn't sound so dumb to me.
Heck, if you're only ever mediocre at everything you do, you can get a government job and work your way to the top in no time.
This is the DMV. There will be no joy here.
If you want to get into woodworking and selling small projects, then subscribe to my channel. I'm always showing small projects that I've researched that are trending, selling for high profits, and then I give you tips on how to build them and where to sell them. Subscribe to my channel if this topic interests you. If you have any more questions, just leave them in the comments. There are a lot smarter people than me that are in my comments answering questions, helping me out, and I really appreciate it. So don't forget to look through the comments. If you find some information that helps you, thank that person that left that comment, because they took time out of their life to leave that comment to help somebody out, instead of some other people that go on there and leave comments that tear people down. We got to lift up these people that are leaving comments to help us out. I will leave some links in the video description for more information about selling on Etsy, some videos that I found helpful. And I want to say thank you for watching and go get to building and selling.